Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Gorman Heritage Farm. It is August 27th. I'm Alan White, assistant gardener here with Jenny, our education director, and Randall Martinez, our cameraman slash Bokashi composting expert. We are here this morning to demonstrate the double digging method process for creating raised beds. The first thing we're going to do, if you want to take a look at the bed that we have beneath us, is remove a section of soil. We're going to take that soil and we're going to place it in a bucket. We're going to dig down about a foot. You can go deeper if you want, depending upon the type of crops that you have. This method is very helpful for when you're working with a lot of the tougher type of soils, specifically clay, which we have a lot of in the Ohio Valley region. So once you get your area as deep as you want, you got your soil set aside, you're going to come in and you want to aerate the bottom layer. So a pitchfork works best if you have a rake or a hoe, or even just taking a shovel and digging up a little bit of the bottom to loosen the soil there. That'll help with better, deeper root development. So you can bring your pitchfork in. You know, you don't necessarily have to turn it over, but that's not a bad idea. All right, the next thing we're going to do, once you've aerated the soil beneath your initial section, is you're going to continue to work down in the area where you want to create the bed. And what you're going to do is you're going to dig out this second section, break it, turn it up a little bit, and then you're going to put it back on top of this initial section. Randall, do you think this is one of the better times to begin adding any of your amendments?
I would say yes. At any point during this dig, when you find you have a trench, you can amend that with any finished compost, or with the example of Bokashi, you could start burying your Bokashi in there. Keeping in mind, if you do choose to put Bokashi compost in there, it will not be finished for another 2 weeks, at which point you would just leave that spot where you have buried the Bokashi, let that sit for 2 weeks before you can begin planting on top.
This would also be the time when you're adding finished compost. You can just incorporate it right in and it will be ready to plant. Things like biochar, if you wanted to add that, you probably have to make sure it's been inoculated, which by this point in the class I think we'll talk about how you want to inoculate your biochar. But this is when you would also incorporate inoculated char. So as you can see, we've got now this nice loose soil on top. We've even got some looser soil here on the bottom. Again, once you've done this, you've reached this next phase. You can go ahead and loosen up the soil at the bottom of your second dig.
So Alan's going to go pick up some compost, and we're going to show you how to add that to the double dig to amend the soil. Is that good?
Yeah.
Thanks for compost.
That does. And we're back.
All right. So now that we have our bucket of compost here, nice, dark, chocolate rich.
Black gold.
Look at that. That's the perfect consistency you're looking for compost. Not too wet, not too dry. And as we're aerating the soil to about 12 or so inches, you can be sprinkling the compost in. It might be like a ratio, like a scoop to a scoop. Scoop, and then you can use your new stuff right on top. Now, Alan, would you suggest putting more compost on top of this?
Yeah, I would sprinkle compost here as well. I think it's a good idea to have this nice, rich, dark, organic matter, this new stuff, kind of evenly distributed. Some people like to put it on top, some people like to put it on the bottom. This is also a great time you can mix, as Randall said, your Bokashi, your biochar, but also leaves, especially if this is, some of the prepping that you're doing either late in the fall, so the leaves will sit and decompose over the winter. If you're doing it in the spring, be careful just not to create too rich of a decaying environment, which sometimes is not helpful for your spring plants. See how he's aerating it there throughout?
That'll mix the soil and the compost pretty evenly too. It'll let it all fall and sediment together. And again, if you were to do Bokashi here, this would be the important part. Let's just pretend for an example that this is a bucket of Bokashi. You would have your brand new trench, a fallow trench with nothing in it, and this Bokashi would go at the very bottom. Just say, for example, this is completely empty. I would take the Bokashi and I would empty all of the contents into it. You could sprinkle it throughout, or you could do it all at once, and then you would bury it to an appropriate depth, whatever it is. You would just keep going, and then you would have to remember that that area has the Bokashi, and you would not plant on it for 2 weeks. And then you could after that, of course.
So this is how you do a double dig, ladies and gentlemen.